Good morning, everybody. PB here with you. A little bit late, 6-7 minutes late. I apologize. Notice I don't have any headphones on. I don't have my microphone in front of me. It's one of those mornings. It's Monday morning. They don't always work out right. Woke up this morning early, looked at my mixer. The screen is all snow. I've been troubleshooting here for the last I don't know how long, and I can't get it. This bothers me that I'm putting it out in this type of quality, but I didn't want to miss it altogether. So I'm going to be here with you for a little while. I'm going to keep it a little bit short, but there's a few key topics that I want to go over about what we saw yesterday. Just share some of my thoughts because, the NFL world goes on fire, basically every other day. It's always something. It's overreaction. They call it Overreaction Monday. The world is coming to an end. All this type of stuff going on about quarterbacks, and we were told something different, and this guy that, and it's like people, we obviously we live in a much more I want it now society than ever before. So there's no I'm going to give a guy a week. I'm going to give a guy 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So I'm going to talk about that, and it goes for coaches and it goes for players, quite frankly. I'll go on about that here in just a bit, but just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at today. Obviously, you see Mike McDonald there on the left with the headset on. Then you see, wow, Brian Dable. I put some snow behind him and trees. My man was like he was stuck in the Appalachian Mountains or something, bundled up like it was 20 below zero. Ease up, Dable. Dan Campbell, the man in the right corner, he's got the play sheet in hand. He's got the specs on, and he's going to town. I'll get into that a little bit, what happened and why, in my opinion, what led to it. Travion Henderson, 32, right there in the center. Boy, I've been all over this since, March, April, before the draft, and now we're seeing it. So I'll get into that. Stafford, I talked about him in one of my recent shows. Really gave him the props. I've been a non-Stafford fan basically my whole life, except for when he was first drafted by the Lions. I didn't like how he performed with the Lions. I didn't like how he led with the Lions, but it is indisputable. It is absolutely beyond the pale of any argument at all. What the guy's doing today, at the tail end of his career, is nothing short of remarkable. For me, it has stamped him into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I doubt there was ever any question, but now for sure he'll be in the Hall of Fame. So let's start. I'm going to start with Brian Dable. All right. So again, as a coach, and I never coached at that level, there are trends, there are patterns, there are systems, there are analytics, there are sheets, there are plans, there are all sorts of things that a coach goes by, especially at that level. There's so many coaches and everything is so methodical, and it's kind of like slotted by the book. We're going to do it this way in this situation and that situation, and they've got all the analytics to tell them what is most likely to lead to success throughout a game or a season or whatever the case may be. And a lot of them stay true to that, and whether it's right or whether it's wrong. And they go by it too much. And it's interesting that I have those three guys up there, because the man in the middle, I would never, ever want to coach my team. All due respect to the man, the person, never in a million years would I want him as my head football coach. Why would anybody go to battle for that guy based on the way he calls games? The person on his left, Mike McDonald, or the person on his left is Dan Campbell. The person on his right is Mike McDonald. Those are guys you will go through a wall for. So Brian Dable, he makes a decision yesterday, basically strictly by the book. He wants to go up 2 scores. He's down on the 1 yard line. His superstar quarterback is out of the game. All right, so you're thinking, this is even what he said. I thought our defense was playing pretty well. Let me explain something, Brian, which I should have to explain to some average Joe like me. The minute your quarterback went down is the minute your team went, uh-oh, what do we do now? is the minute it injected life in the other team that said, uh-oh, we got a chance now because they're going to put in Russell Wilson or they're going to put in Jameis Winston, and we can handle this, guys. All we got to do is make a couple plays, and we can get back in this game. So you're at 4th and 1-ish, 4th and goal from the 1-ish. You have Russell Wilson in at quarterback. You basically have stopped scoring. You're not going to score again. I mean, that's just basically, 100% lock. Not happening. So, wow, am I not on X here? 1 second. Bear with me 1 second, guys. The one place I need to be live, I wasn't live. All right, all of you on X, I'm going to restart this. Boy, oh boy. What a morning. All right, guys, so we're late. We're late this morning. A good solid 10, 12, 13 minutes. I was just live, but I was only on Facebook and YouTube, so now I've got X in the mix. Apologize for the different setup you see. I have no headphones on. The quality of the picture is less than. I'm a bit embarrassed about that. I apologize. Woke up this morning early. I looked at my mixer here, and the screen was all snowy. That's not a good sign. So I've been troubleshooting for the last, I don't know how long, trying to fix that, trying to get the normal product up. And I just haven't had any success with that. So I'll have to work on that a little bit later today. But I didn't want to miss this altogether because I had some pretty strong thoughts to get out there based on what we saw throughout the NFL yesterday. Thursday I've already talked about, yesterday, and maybe a touch about tonight. So what we see here on the graphic is Mike McDonald there in the background. Brian Dable, man, looks like he's in 40 inches of snow. I put some snow behind it because he was bundled up like it was 30 below. Dan Campbell with the call sheet in his hand. And I'll get into that. I can't wait to get into that. Travion Henderson there, he's looking up. It looks like it's a Jumbotron. Stafford, again, another amazing performance. I'll dig into all of that. So let's start with Brian Dable. All right, so Brian Dable, I wouldn't want want Brian Dable as my coach out of those three guys. I would take I'm never taking anybody over Dan Campbell. Let me just make that clear as a Detroiter. That's just not happening. But if I had a second choice out of those guys, it'd be Mike McDonald all day. It would never be Brian Dable. Brian Dable coaches in fear basically almost every single week. He coaches not to lose instead of to win. Those are formulas of insecurity as a coach, in my opinion, and those are formulas to lose more than you win. You're going to win some, but you're going to lose some. And you're going to lose in ways sometimes that are dynamic, that will not only piss off a fan base, they will affect your team and your coaching staff because they will lose confidence in you. And natural tendency will be that they let up. They're not going to go as hard. Whether we can argue that that's right or wrong, and I don't think that that's right to do that, but that's reality. That's the human condition, and that when you are coaching like that, and you are coaching not to lose, and you are coaching not to lose instead of to win, Brian Dable, you're going to have a lot of problems. So something like 6 minutes or so yet left yesterday. I don't have the exact number in front of me. 7 minutes, 8 minutes, right in there. Jackson Dart goes down. You have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as your backup quarterbacks. There's two very key things that happen when that happens. I'm telling you guys this as a former coach, and this is not thought through enough because they go by analytics. They go by, what a piece of paper says, what a sheet says. They're looking at odds and percentages, and there's a place for that. You should have that as a guiding light, so to say. But you must have situational awareness. You must have game time awareness. You must have personnel awareness. You must be able to recognize the flow that's taking place. It's intuition. It's a gut feeling. And you cannot coach scared. You can coach, you got to coach smart, but you cannot coach scared under any circumstance. So the two things that happened yesterday when Jackson Dart goes down, and I see many more of you are joining now, and I thank you for that. Let me just pop this back up again. We're talking about Mike McDonald, Seattle, we'll get to in a minute. Dan Campbell with the call sheet in his hand, we'll get to him. Travion Henderson there in the front, Matthew Stafford, we'll get to them. But Brian Dable, like he was in the Appalachian Mountains there with all the snow I put behind him, he was bundled up and more focused about staying warm than he was actually about doing his job and coaching the game, putting his team in a position to win. So when Jackson Dart goes down, two things take place. From a coaching perspective, opposing coaching perspective, even your own coaches, from your own player perspective and from the opposing player perspective. All right, we've been trailing Chicago. Think about this from Chicago. We've been trailing. We're not playing well. We're not, it's a back and forth game, but we're just not playing well. And, Caleb Williams is looking terrible. There's no life. Typical Ben Johnson team. Sorry, it's just the facts. He's not a leader. He's a coordinator. And Caleb Williams is not a top flight quarterback. So when Jackson Dart goes down, your own team says, we're going to Russell Wilson now. We know coach isn't going to Jameis. He's going to Russell Wilson. What are we going to do now? There's no confidence left in Russell Wilson. He shouldn't even be in the NFL. I don't even understand how he's at the number 2 spot and Winston's not at number 2. I almost feel like Jameis has requested that because I'll just take Jameis Winston in his spot because he's just going to give it. He's just going to be able to give a little bit more than Russell. And I'll take my chances if it comes down to that. So the team, the coaching staff, everybody's like, what do we do now? Russell's coming in. All right, so the opposing team. Here's this is what you really got to think about from the opposing team and the opposing coaches. Hey, we've been off all day. We're at home. We're not performing well. Our quarterback's making awful plays. Jackson Dart's basically all right, there I am. And now he's gone from the game. Now we have life. All we got to do is this and this, and we'll be back. So if you're Brian Dable, you have to be thinking about that. You have to be thinking, I'm putting in my backup quarterback now. I'm not going to score anymore, basically. So you get down close, and it was a nice job by Wilson running. It's a couple of plays that were made. You get down near the goal line. You run a couple silly plays, and Wilson gets basically clotheslined. It's 4th and goal. It's somewhere about the 1.5 yard line. And he makes a decision to kick a field goal, which puts you up by 2 scores. All right. That's what the book says. That's not what your intuition and your gut should say because you injected life in everything across the field. You kick the field goal, you make it. There's a penalty called. You can take half the distance and go for it on 4th down from basically the half, 3/4 yard line. You're 2-7? What the hell do you have to lose? Your team busted their ass. Your star quarterback went down. You're down on the half a yard line. You're an NFL football team. Play like you care. Coach, rather, like you care, and put your team in a position to punch that through. And in the off chance that you get held back, they're 99.5 yards away, and they still have to score. And if you believed, which he said, I believed my defense was playing good enough. All right, so you went up 2 scores, but 2 simple scores still puts you in the hole. It puts you behind. If you felt your defense was playing good and you got to make the other team go the length of the field, essentially, what's wrong with that? Give yourself the maximum amount of chances, bust the ball up the middle or whatever it is you got to do to give yourself a chance to score on 4th down. And if you didn't believe in it on 4th and goal when you kicked the field goal and there was a penalty, you damn sure got to believe it after that. But he stays true to it Typical Brian Dable, and I got no horse in this race. I'm not a Giants fan. I'm a sports fan and a former coach, and you just don't do that. Now, some would say the alternative argument would be, well, he kicked the field goal. He's up 2 scores. Oh, you got to put it on defense. That's all they had to do was stop him, or if they did stop him. See, man, that was a really good decision by Brian. If you want to talk analytics, and you don't get it on 4th down, I think it was Greg Olson that pointed it out. It's actually in your favor. And he had 2 chances to do it, to get it right. And he got it wrong both times. And so there goes the injection of life. A play here, a play there. You know, the crowd gets in it. Adrenaline starts kicking. It's an oh no moment. It's an oh shit moment. Then there's the momentum's changing. The defense is on their heels. There's 1 score. And you got Russell Wilson. You know you're going to stop them. 3 and out. Use your timeout. You're coming down the field. You're making plays. And you win the ball game. Brian Dable cannot come back to this football team. He just can't. This has been his whole career. Honestly, this has been largely his entire career. You don't need to be an expert to see that the guy coaches not to lose instead of to win. You can even tell it on his face. I mean, body language and his actual demeanor tells you, it gives you a shot into the soul. He's hoping, he's wondering. There's no conviction. There's no, I have this under control. Guys, rally around and we're going to do this. That matters. It doesn't matter what level it is. You could be coaching 4th graders, or you can be coaching professional players, or you could be coaching 30, 32, 35, 37-year-old veteran pro players. Brian Dable let his team down, period. Even if you lost the game, it isn't even like you're, 7-2. You're 2-7. Your season's over. You got a 37-year-old washed-up quarterback there. You got down to that spot, punch it in. You're up. What, 14? I believe it was 14. Just mind-numbing. And he deserves all the heat he's going to get. You cannot bring him back. I thought he might have a chance. You know, people said Dart and Neighbors and Scatabo, they're going to save his job. You can't. You cannot. Because if you have Dart, you have Scatabo, and you have Neighbors, and you have your full complement of weaponry, that just shows you what he's capable of doing, regardless of who's on the field. Now, if he's got Dart, is he going for it? Of course. But there will be other situations that present itself where that mindset comes in. That's not just a sneak peek. That's who he is under the surface. So, awful job. I haven't seen it yet, but I imagine, like today, I haven't seen it. I imagine he's getting torn to shreds by the New York media, of all places, right? It's not like you're in some offshoot place in some wilderness part of the country. Man, you set yourself up to be crushed. You're 2-7. Go for it, bro. You literally have nothing to lose. And if you didn't gain that goal line play and punch it in for 6, Chicago's in a horrible spot. You can get a safety, can get a fumble on a snap. There's a million things that could go wrong for Chicago in that position, and they hadn't been playing very well at the time. And you already said it. You believed your defense was playing well. So just awful job. All right, I'm going to skip over to Dan Campbell here. If you don't know me, I see the people on. I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I lived there for basically 53 years. I moved to Florida full-time in the last basically February. So what is that? 9 months. I've been saying this, and if I didn't have the technical difficulties this morning, I had the audio from my previous show like a week ago when people are freaking out about John Morton, the offensive coordinator, and I have my feelings on it. I don't want to dive too deep into that. But I was basically telling everybody, relax. It was never Ben Johnson in full command. It was never John Morton in full command. Everything that makes the train go in Detroit starts and ends with Dan Campbell. That is not the case for every NFL team. This is what makes this man so special, and he doesn't get enough credit for it. And so I told people in the video, and I'll put it up later. I'll splice it together and put it out there. Where I say, guys, chill out. It's going to be okay. It was largely the offensive line, but Campbell will take the play call duties away, just like he did with Anthony Lynn in year one. And the minute he made that change, the offense started to go. People don't understand the entire creativity, the vision, that go for it mentality, that next man up mentality. It's not Ben Johnson. It never was Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is a product of Dan Campbell. He was built, and I don't know, this is a crazy way to say it, but built and paid for because Dan Campbell gave him the opportunity to be on the staff. And Ben Johnson is an offshoot product of Dan Campbell. It was not Ben Johnson's offense. He was involved in the process, but Campbell told him, I want this, I want this, I want this. And at this point, while it's still early, it appears that Ben Johnson did a better job of implementing what Dan Campbell wanted personnel-wise than what John Morton did. And I'll give Ben Johnson this part of credit. And I know Campbell squashed this, and other teams or players squashed this. Particularly when you've never been the offensive coordinator of said team. John Morton was there. He left wherever he went, Denver, and he came back. He was not the OC before he left. When he came back, he was the OC. You lose your DC and Aaron Glenn, you lose your OC and Ben Johnson, and John Morton gets installed as the offensive coordinator. And yes, he knows the guys. He had a relationship with the guys, but you did not have a relationship as an offensive coordinator. And you went and planted your ass up in the booth. That has rubbed me the wrong way for a while. I did a video from the car where I lost my mind like 5, 6, maybe 7 weeks ago. It was like right after the season started. And I'm screaming, get out of the booth. Come on the sidelines. We all understand why they're up in the booth. You could see the whole field. You can see everything develop. You can look at tendencies. He is not of the stature or level of accomplishment to be like a Norv Turner and get away with that. He hasn't been around years and developed it, and they know exactly what he wants and how he wants it and what the lingo is. He should be next to Jared Goff, and I said this in the video, multiple videos. Yes, you have Mark Brunell. Yes, you have Hank Fraley down there. Yes, you have David Shaw, who's the passing coordinator down there. And Hank Fraley is the offensive line coach and run game coordinator. Yes, you can talk to those guys. That's why they have headphones on. I got it. But it's not you. And you haven't earned the right to do that. If anybody from Detroit is watching right now, I put this out yesterday, and everybody knows Hammer from Fox 2, Jennifer Hammer, or Jennifer Hammond, excuse me, Hammer, nickname. I put up there about the booth, and she jumped into the conversation, said, I've never been a fan of it. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, John Morton. And I don't know why Dan Campbell, honestly, I don't know why he went ahead and said it's fine. That's just one thing. I don't ever disagree with that guy, but he really should be on the sidelines. All right, so Campbell sees things that he doesn't like. You have the best offensive talent in the world. You have the most complete offensive unit in every way, really, from your O-line to your wideouts to your slot guys to your tight end to your backfield is a 1-2 punch that is kind of thunder lightning. You have Goff, who's a very good quarterback, a great leader, very cerebral, knows how to read a defense. And I'm going to get to something about it that Pat Caputo, if anybody's watching from Detroit, what he said is just kind of a silly statement. It's a very obvious statement. But let me just say it. He says, Jared Goff played well last night, but Jared Goff only plays like that when he has protection. If you get some pressure on him, it's not going to be the same kind of outcome. Pat. And he's nicknamed The Book because he's like an encyclopedia. For those of you who don't know him, he's a writer and a TV personality, radio personality in Detroit. It's like that's every quarterback. Yeah, he doesn't have the ability to get out and scramble and make his own plays, but any quarterback, if you're not getting protection, you're not going to truly be successful for any long period of time. So back to my point is they have all of this weaponry. And while they were still producing, they were inconsistent. It is a Monday. Wow. And so he takes over the play calling because he doesn't like what he's seeing. He's got the personnel out there, but formationally and how you run your schemes and how you run your plays dictates who's going to get the ball and when based on defensive formations. Jameson Williams is one of the greatest weapons in the NFL, and he's underutilized. He was underutilized with Ben Johnson. He's way underutilized with John Morton. And you might say, well, why isn't Goff getting him the ball? Because formationally, sometimes the formation is geared towards someplace else based on coverage you're up against. And he can't go there for whatever, could be a variety of reasons. So Campbell's like, I got to get Jahmyr Gibbs the ball. And I didn't even listen to his presser, if I'm being honest, because I was dealing with all this technical difficulty this morning. You have Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield, and you have Jameson Williams on the outside. You got to get the ball in their hands every time. It can't be Amon-Ra St. Brown, amazing. One of the best receivers in the NFL. But it cannot just be him. You cannot. They say, oh, they work everything through St. Brown. And to a degree, you should. It's like Puka Nacua over in the Rams. I mean, Devontae Adams is playing a larger role now. Nacua kind of coming off the injury. You want to get the ball to St. Brown, but you can't not get the ball to Jameson Williams. And you definitely cannot not get the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. It was the Lions had 14 points on the board, and I said, well, a 40-piece is coming. Because you could just see it. Because when they are flowing like that and you have the defense off balance, they don't know where it's coming from. They don't know who to stop because there's so many weapons. If the Lions are even at 75, 80% execution level, they're good enough to put 35 basically up on any team. And the layman person or the person who's outside of the city of Detroit doesn't obviously know what us who follow the team like it's our job, like it's part of what we do, and understand the depth of Dan Campbell and how he thinks, what he thinks, and why he thinks it, and what his tendencies, his true tendencies are. It's his offense. And he got fed up. You're 5-3. He didn't like the way it was going. And here's my gut feeling. And I was going to pull the video up. Again, if I didn't have the technical difficulties, I think that John Morton's press conference earlier or last week, earlier in midweek, whatever it was, I think that rubbed Campbell the wrong way. And I think it rubbed players the wrong way. And there was an attitude and an arrogance and a cockiness. Look, you could be confident. I like to speak confidently and absolutely. But I generally have some type of track record to do that. John Morton has zero track record. He has zero, we'll call it street credibility to say anything like that. You have to earn the right to talk like that because you have something that it's built on, a foundation to that. You don't. You're basically the new guy in town, even though everybody kind of knew who you were. You're the new guy in the town. And 2 years ago, the team was in the NFC Championship, and last year against Washington, you got handled. Injuries and all, I got it. But you got handled. Now you're playing Washington. It's message time. It's go to 6-3. And I have argued this, oh my God, for the past 25 years with, all of the Detroit personality. Sean Belizean, if people from Detroit are watching, Sean Belizean, I would comment on his shows. When I say comment, I would text, or I'd be telling people, or I'd chat on the show or whatever. Sean Belizean has always said, a win is a win. No, it's not. I'm here to tell you again, like till I'm blue in the face, to Sean and to anybody who's listening, it matters how you win and it matters how you lose. If you're looking to build something, consistent, maintainable, sustainable, growing, trajectory, no windows, meaning there's no window of winning, you're in a long-term, legit Super Bowl contender, not Mike Tomlin, not John Harbaugh, excuse me, not forget Jim, not John Harbaugh, where it's just the same old. Oh, we got 9 wins. Oh, we got 10. Oh, we got 11. We made the playoffs. No one takes you seriously. No one thinks you have enough to win it all. You don't have that feeling in Detroit. The expectation by Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell is such, it's at the highest level. It bothers Dan Campbell. I'm telling you guys, it bothers Dan Campbell. He believes he has an obligation, first to himself, to all his fellow coaches, to his players, to his ownership, to everybody that has supported him, to the fan base, to the city. The city embraced him from day one. He played for the Lions for a short period of time, had success at an interim level in Miami and New Orleans. People like Sean Payton spoke up for him. He got the job. Like, he wears it on his sleeve. Less than is never acceptable for him. He will, and a lot of coaches, in fairness, will lose sleep over it and stuff. But he's an action decision maker and an action taker, is what I like to say. He doesn't talk, he acts. He doesn't hope, he executes. And he will not hesitate under any circumstance to do whatever is necessary, as in, like, within reason and within the rules of the game, to put his team in the best situation to win, even if that means he puts his glasses on like this, big fella, 6'5", 260 or whatever he is, like this, calling the play sheet. Now, most ideally, I don't like head coaches to call plays, particularly when you are a true contender like this. And I don't want to get into all the reasons why, but that was probably necessary. And what does this do now? So he said, I did see a clip of what he said about this. John Morton's probably not happy. Well, yeah. Anybody who gets it taken away, what is it, 10 weeks into your new job, or 9 weeks, whatever it is, that prior to the game, you're 6-3 now, so 8 games prior to the game, you're not feeling so secure, John Morton. And quite frankly, nor should you. And you should probably come down a couple of levels, and you should probably learn from this. You should probably get your ass out of the booth, and you should probably go stand next to Dan Campbell. Because this is not the first time Dan Campbell did this, and it's not going to be the last time he does this, and it might not change for the rest of the year until he either A, feels confident that Morton can do it this year, or he makes a change in the offseason, or maybe he makes the change in season. What he did with Anthony Lynn is Anthony Lynn stayed around for the entire year, but he pulled the duties. And he figured he'd figure out a way to have Anthony Lynn, who, by the way, handled that as a true professional. He never came out and he never acted a fool or anything. And I don't think Morton will either. I think they respect what's going on in Detroit far too much. But for those of you who are watching or watch this later, if you're outside of Detroit, this is not a shock to us. This is actually what we expect of him. I am not, at least me, I don't want to speak for anybody else. For me, this is not a shock. There is an expectation to go very, very deep this year. And he saw enough. He's not going to sit by. And then if you sit back and just sit by and watch this take place the way that it was. And if you hear Jameson Williams post-game interview on the field, which I'm not a big fan of those, I always talk about it, it should be banned. But this was really good to see because Jameson Williams has grown up before our very eyes in the last 4 years. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even a year ago, he wouldn't have talked the way that he did. 2 weeks ago, I think it was, John Morton said, I've done wrong. I've got to get Jameson Williams the ball. Well, he wasn't doing it. Even after he said it, he wasn't doing it. Well, he got I don't have his numbers in front of me. He was like 7 for 120 something. Don't quote me on the exact number. And he's so excited and talking. He's like, the coach had confidence in me, had faith in me. I was doing my work and waiting for my number to be called. Handled it perfectly. But you didn't move up in the draft. And they actually used the Matthew Stafford pick, if I'm not mistaken, to move up the year that they got him at 31, I think it was, or 20, whatever number they moved up to get him. They used collateral from the Rams trade, from the Stafford trade, I believe, to get him. You didn't move up. You didn't re-sign him this year, in a player option year, because you're not going to get him involved. 4.2 speed, take the top off of any defense, and he can run all the other patterns or all the other routes on a route tree. But you have to give him the opportunity to do that. Campbell did that. Look at the results. 500 yards, 44 points, and they got the Eagles next week. And I believe that this was part of that too. Campbell is not always looking now, and no real leader should. You're understanding the now, but it's what's now, what's new, what's next. I mean, I have videos on that theory. That's a theory I've used in business. What's now, what's new, what's next? It applies in business, it applies in life, and it applies in sports. And there is no doubt in my mind that Campbell understood where Washington, here we go with situational awareness that Brian Daboll has no idea what it is. Dan Campbell knew he was playing a weakened Washington team, even though it was in their building. He knew he had his team riled up, and I got the chills right now. He knew he had his team riled up because they got beat at home in the playoffs, and their season was ended by Washington last year, 38-28, I think it was. A dirty shot to Jared Goff's chin, and we'll get to St. Brown getting punched in the face in a minute. If you're not suspended 5 games for that, there's something seriously wrong. You can't do that. You could kill somebody. If he hits him right in the throat, a man that size, one shot, St. Brown could die. And I don't think I'm being over dramatic. Any self-defense person could tell you hit a person right that way, because he didn't hit him really in the helmet. It was more like kind of in the neck, chin, neck area. Maybe it wasn't fully the neck, but that's dangerous by a man that size and a hand that big. That's just, and a sucker punch no less. That's crazy. But Dan Campbell was recognizing who he was playing, backup quarterback. We should be able to handle this team. I'm going to make sure we handle this team. But here I am doing it. I doubt it. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I don't think he's relinquishing these duties for the year. I really don't. He's definitely not relinquishing the play calling duties playing against Philadelphia coming up, because there's so much riding on that line. We'll see what happens in tonight's game. That's going to go a long way. But whether Philly wins tonight or loses tonight, you're in a race with them for best record in the NFC. So this was let me re-warm up, let me reacclimate to the offense and the call sheet and my specs in a game-like scenario. Let me get off the bench and let me get warmed up. And he's going to take and keep that play calling for sure for the Philly game. Watch. And again, if I'm wrong, I'll come out and I'll say it. So props to Dan Campbell. And I always got to say his name because I respect John Frashella, NFL Frashella. He put out his top 10 coaches 2 weeks ago, and he didn't have Andy Reid in there, and he didn't have Dan Campbell in there, and I lit him up for it a little bit. Dan Campbell is the best coach in the world, folks. There are a lot of good ones, and I have Mike McDonald up there as one of the great young minds. Matt LaFleur is another one. There's many, many good ones. Dan Campbell is the best in the world, folks. He's the best motivator. He's the best leader. He's the best fighter. He is extraordinarily creative. He has rewritten the analytic book, by the way. You know, everybody knows if you watch him even a little bit about the 4th downs and stuff. I always wondered why, there was a great high school coach that did this, and I don't have his name. I apologize. This is just coming to mind. There was a high school coach that created his own analytics, and he went for it 4th down in almost every situation. You have the down. Somebody said along the way that you're supposed to punt on every 4th down outside of XYZ place on the field. I don't agree with it. And your personnel matters. You have to have the proper personnel to take some of those chances on 4th and 2, 3, 4. But he'll even do it on a 4th and 5. It'll be 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and they'll run the ball and take a shot, keep the balance up. When I say take a shot at keeping the defense off balance, because he knows he's going to turn around and go for it on 4th and 3 if he needs to. And guess who else knows that? The whole team, the whole staff. Now, you make a mistake here and there with that, but more times than not, you are going to succeed, and your team is not going to just go through the first wall. They're going to go through the second wall, the third wall, and so on. That is so integral to getting your team to level up and then go next levels. I did that at the youth level. You've got to give them reasons to keep going. It's just human nature. This is a motivational tactic through their work. They love that. They thrive on that. They become experts in those situations. It's a lot. I don't really care for the play, but it's a lot like the tush push. Philadelphia took that personally. Says, we are going to recreate this. We're going to be the best at this. And no matter the situation, mano a mano, we're going to get lower than the other guy, and coach is going to give us a chance, whether it's second down, third down, fourth down, and he may tell us 3 times in a row. Or maybe even Hurts has the ability to call that on his own, because there's that much faith and confidence, and they do it that well. That they just do that part of the game that well. And there's nothing wrong with that. So kudos to Campbell. Kudos to the Lions. Should be a 5-game suspension for, what was it, Payne? That's a 5-game suspension all day. You cannot sucker punch people in a game like that. I don't care what size you are and what size the other guy is. There's no place for it. You just cannot have it. That's bad stuff. And so many of the Lions had their backs turned too. And you got to stick up for your guy. But that could have gotten really, really bad. It's just crazy when I watch these guys. And he was selective with where he went. But a lot of these guys swinging at guys with helmets on, it's crazy. Like, legitimately, it's crazy. All right, Mike Macdonald, just wow, what an insane job he's doing with Seattle. And again, he comes with some terrific credibility. He was on the Baltimore staff. He was on the Michigan Wolverines staff. He coached under Harbaugh, both Harbaughs. He's done a heck of a job and built his resume. And John Schneider, I say it all the time, he's one of the top 5 GMs, top 6, 7 GMs in all of sports. The man knows what he's doing. It is no accident that Seattle is back this fast. Personally, I'm surprised that Darnold is doing this well. But John Schneider knows how to put the pieces in place. He's done it for years. And when you can win like this after change, meaning you changed your quarterback, Metcalf went out, Lockett went out, and Jigba is only in his second year with McDonald. And you've had to change over your defense so much. You changed over your coach not too long ago, and you're what? 8-2? And you're humming. It's just amazing. That is a match made in heaven. John Schneider, Mike Macdonald, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Les Snead, Sean McVay. These things matter. You look at Cleveland Browns, Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski. Look at what the Jets are doing. Watch what they're doing. I've been on this for the whole year. Stick behind Aaron Glenn. I put it out before the year. Aaron Glenn will be a better head coach than Ben Johnson, and it will not be close. Ben Johnson is not Dan Campbell. He isn't even close. Aaron Glenn is of the same mold as Dan Campbell. It's just he took over an empty cupboard, a lot like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes took over an empty cupboard. And a dysfunctional franchise, the Jets and Woody Johnson, just like the Lions when Campbell came in, you got 50, 60 years, and you have to reset the tone. Dan Campbell's comment, real quick. Dan Campbell's comment in the press conference, we're going to bite off kneecaps. Someone asked him, what about the SOL, which means same old Lions, because that's what it was always known as, the same old Lions. He said, I don't want to hit that. I don't want to hear that shit in here no more. And from that moment, it changed. I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, it came off as arrogant, but I understand what he was doing. They were asking him about Justin Fields, and he said, I don't want to answer your question. And then they tried again, and they tried again, because I don't want to answer your question. I don't have to answer your question. Something to that effect. This is Aaron Glenn taking control of the franchise away from the toxic stuff. And I'm in control of the messaging. I'm in control of the team. You are no longer going to affect what we do around here. It is a spitting image. Please remember this. It's what Campbell did, and Aaron Glenn was right there with him, and he was with him in my where was he? New Orleans. He was in New Orleans with him on that staff, I'm pretty sure. They've been together. He followed him, and he's used the same approach, the same philosophy. And when it's so bad and it's so toxic, you have to be demonstrative. You have to have your plan. You cannot budge. You cannot fold. You cannot let some media person who's been there 10, 12, 15 years asking the same question to the previous 6 coaches. This is, if you want to say new sheriff in town, Aaron Glenn is in charge, people. Watch what happens over the next 2 to 3 years. What they did this past week was insanely brilliant. And by the way, Aaron Glenn is a smart man. He knows Justin Fields is not the quarterback for the future. He wasn't like arguing with the reporter to suggest that I'm right and you're wrong and that Justin Fields is our answer and he's our guy. No, I don't believe that for a second. I think Aaron Glenn knows that Justin Fields is a stopgap measure. He's a placeholder until they can acquire the capital, the draft capital, or obviously they're going to finish poorly in the standings, although the win yesterday doesn't help as much. But nevertheless, you acquired a lot of picks. You're going to have a relatively high pick, a very high pick. It'll come. It's a 2-year contract. But there's a reason why coaches do that. And then there's people like Brian Dable who get up there, and I saw him just for a moment at the presser, and it looks like a deer in headlights. That's not who you want leading your franchise. And that's not who you want leading a franchise who's been horrible for so long. There you go. New York market, New York market. You want Aaron Glenn or you want Brian Dable? Now, in fairness, a lot of you don't know Aaron Glenn. I mean, I studied the guy because he was in Detroit for 4 years. He's the real deal. And areas he's not good enough, he's more of a defensive guy, whereas Campbell played offense. But Campbell understood all parts of the game. Aaron Glenn understands all parts of the game, and he'll bring in people smarter than him, like any leader should, in certain areas that they're not as good in, and he will build this organization with the help of the GM and everybody else. So watch out for that. He will be a coach that's talked about very soon. All right, number 32 here. I'm gonna pat myself on the back here a little bit. I was all over this pre-draft, and when there was talk about Ashton Giante going to the Raiders, I was popping out videos like a lot, and I was basically put it out to Raider fans, and it actually got clipped and it got reposted, and it kind of got a little bit of legs. And it was, you are not in a position to draft Ashton Giante, number 1 on its face. You got holes all over the team. That's a luxury pick. If you're already good, you take a running back at 6. If you're really good. If you're rebuilding, which essentially they are, new quarterback, new coach, you're limited on defense. You've lost pieces. You basically had Brock Bowers, Geno Smith coming, as I said, from another team, Pete Carroll coming from another team, limited at the wide receiver position. Not that you should have taken a wide receiver there either. Build your trenches. Offensive line, defensive line, everything else after that. If you don't have that, you cannot win in the NFL. It doesn't matter Ashton Giante. It doesn't matter Travion Henderson. It doesn't matter Jonathan Taylor. None of it matters. You can put Tom Brady behind an offensive line. If they don't block, Tom Brady was never Tom Brady. The great ones, the great organizations, the great coaches know that. They just do. So, Travion Henderson, obviously out of Ohio State, I viewed him as equal to, if not better, and all the graphics are there. You can check it on my feed at PB Sports Talks. I believed he was always better, for sure equal, but likely better than Ashton Giante. And the reason is because of certain traits of his ability, but also the level of competition that Travion Henderson played against. You're playing against world-class athletes that are loaded in the NFL. That's not to say that people in Boise State and out in those conferences don't deliver some guys. but it isn't the Big Ten or SEC caliber player. It's just not. And the entire offense was focused around Genty. I always want to call him Genty. And if you did it with Quinshon Judkins, or you did it with TreVeyon Henderson, or you did it with Singleton over in Penn State, or whatever running back, if you run the entire system around a guy, he's going to get 180, 160, 180, 200, 220. That's not how Henderson was structured. They had a two-headed monster, not a one-headed monster, and they weren't playing subpar competition. They were playing the best competition in the world. So on most draft mocks, Henderson was somewhere between 28 and 32. I was begging the Raiders to take Mason Graham at 6 if he was there. He ended up not being there. And then circle back and take TreVeyon Henderson. Like, they had the 36 and 37. They had the 37th pick. If you felt like he was going to go, depending on how the board went, you would look to move up to snag TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson somewhere between 28 to 32, I believe is what I said. Do you want TreVeyon Henderson between 28 and 32, or do you want Ashton Giante at 6? You tell me. And if Mason Graham wasn't there, you could do a lot of other things there, O-line wise, D-line wise, even linebacker wise, versus getting Genty. And how's that working out? So Mike Vrabel, obviously, is a Patriots coach. Josh McDaniels, obviously the same coordinator as the big run for New England. They haven't really been using him. They were using Ramondre Stevenson. And I've got Grays here. And again, I have no horse in the race in New England except to say my prediction on TreVeyon Henderson, my evaluation and analysis of him, that he was, in my opinion, the best running back in the draft. And Raiders don't take Genty. Don't take him. And that wasn't to say that Genty wouldn't be any good, but he wouldn't be any good at 6 for that team and where they were. I mean, he's got like 3. I don't have the number in front of me, so don't quote me, but he's at something like 3.5 yards carry, 3.6, somewhere in there, 3.7 maybe. So Henderson's been backseating to Ramondre Stevenson. I call it Billy Ball. They got to have like 4 running backs. They were trying to get Tony Pollard from Tennessee. Tony Pollard, Stevenson, Henderson. Now, Ramondre Stevenson went down with turf toe, so maybe you feel like you need another back, but that's just in the nature of how the Patriots were. They didn't really like a one guy all the time. I mean, they did it with some guys. I got it over the years, but situationally, James White, the Corey Dillon days, they like a multiple head monster. TreVeyon Henderson is a superstar. He can do everything. Somebody came at me 3-4 weeks ago. I said TreVeyon Henderson can block. He can run. He can home run threat like he did twice yesterday. 55-yard run and a 69-yard run for touchdown. 14 carries, 147 yards. He can flare out of the backfield. He can run any pattern. He has amazing hands. He has a high IQ, played at a world-class university. He has everything that you want to be a number 1 running back. And Cleveland fans, if you're watching this, Quinshon Judkins fans, if you're watching this, he's a very nice player. And I was a fan of him before he went to Ohio State, when he played for Lane Kiffin. That's really when I watched him. I liked him a lot. But I'm sorry, he's not TreVeyon Henderson. He's just not. And the whole world saw who TreVeyon Henderson is yesterday. And Ramondre Stevenson's a nice back. He is. He can't hold on to the ball, but he's a nice back, and he needs to be kind of the second guy. Take some of the load off, but it's 2/3 to TreVeyon, and it's 1/3 to Henderson when he comes back healthy, and that should not change. He showed it on special teams. It was preseason, but he showed it in special teams, taking a punt or a kickoff 80 yards and showing that speed. He did it yesterday, showing that speed against, by the way, a team that's really solid against the run, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It isn't like he caught a flare out of the backfield. You could really put up some yards against Tampa Bay through the air, but the strength of their defense is run defense. It wasn't yesterday. 147 yards on 14 carries. Rough math, That's 10 yards a carry. I know two of the rushes were 124 yards. I got it. But they didn't really need him much else. And believe me, even if it wasn't those, they would have still fed him the ball, and he's still a 5-yard plus carry a game, or a 5-yard carry per carry guy. He just is. He has to be there. He has to be in. This is not a moment. It's not a flash. This is who he is. Mike Vrabel, don't turn away from this, even when Stevenson comes back. He is a superstar, and barring injury, will go down as, I don't know if you want to say one of the greats, but one of the greats. Stay true to that. All right, Matthew Stafford. I mean, let me just, I'm going to just pull this up here real quick. You can see me on the screen, but I'm just pulling this up because we talked about this on Jason Whitlock's show the other day, and he had 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Well, I don't even need to. Payne suspended 1 game. 1 game. That's ridiculous. How are you going to suspend him for only 1 game? I just saw that pop up. Sorry. So Stafford yesterday, 24 of 36, 280 yards and 4 touchdowns. So without looking at it, he didn't throw an interception. So he was 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions when we talked about him the other day. So just add 4 touchdowns. 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and another 280 yards on a very good team. 37 years old. Beat up. Was absolutely brutalized in Detroit for years. I said it on one of my lives the other day. I'm going to say it again. And anybody who knows me from the past knows I disliked Matthew Stafford. I didn't like his attitude. I didn't feel like he was a leader. He was out of shape for 6-7 years of his career. You know, his wife did a lot of talking that I think affected some things. I just didn't think he would go through walls. And I always felt that his stat lines was very, very padded. Lions be down 21, 28, 35 points, and then prevent defense. And then he was the greatest quarterback that way, because I don't believe in prevent defense. I always believe in keep doing what got you there. Oh, let's go back 20 yards and keep everything in front of us. You shouldn't be giving freebies. Maybe you're not looking to blitz every other play like you would normally, but man, don't just send 4 and drop everybody else back and give anybody an opportunity to do that. Well, that's what Stafford got really good at. Then he went to St. Louis. Then he won a Super Bowl. Then he was going to retire, and McVay was maybe going to step away, and they decided to go back at it again. Matthew Stafford, I promise you, I'm not intoxicated. I drink like twice a year, 3 times a year. So I'm not even intoxicated. Matthew Stafford is playing the best football of his career right now. And he absolutely positively needs to be, I mean, anybody who's at a quarterback, 25-2, 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, you have to be in the conversation. Even if their record, generally, if you're 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, your record's likely very good. But even if his record this year, if the Rams record was a little bit less than that, I don't think, like a lot of people say, it must be X. In order to be, even if your individual statistics are really good, it must be aligned with the standings. I don't necessarily always agree with that. So whether they were a little bit down or whether they are where they are right now, that is a legitimate MVP candidate. He's in the top 3 for sure, and it's very difficult to say he's not number 1. The chemistry that him and McVay have and the relationship that they have, it's special, folks. And McVay was really thinking about stepping away. I think he was fried. I think he was burnt. He's an emotional guy. I think he was newly married at the time, started coaching at head coach about 33 or so, 32, 33 when he started with the Rams. It's a taxing job. And I think I know he was thinking about stepping away because he talked about it. And Stafford was seriously thinking about retiring. Got the back issues, some of the neck issues. You know, they obviously won a Super Bowl. Do we want to go through this again? And they probably both sat down or on the phone multiple times and said, hey, man, let's run it back. I think we still got it. And there we go again, Les Snead. And that's where Brad Holmes learned, folks, under Les Snead. Brad Holmes was responsible for Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, Jared Goff, a lot of the guys, acquiring Jalen Ramsey back then. He was their scout. He was the guy telling Les Snead everybody. So Les Snead, on the fly, after you win a Super Bowl, you lose Aaron Donald, and you still find a way to be competitive at that level? That is extraordinary, folks. That is not easy to do. That's why I say if you're run properly, it's not always a window. Oh, so this was a 5-year window? But most people say, oh, you got like a 2-year window. Well, the window's still wide. And guess what? He made a glowing, and I say McVay made a glowing comment about Jimmy Garoppolo in the last 2 days about how he feels he still has it. And it wouldn't surprise me if Stafford retired at the end of this year, even at 34 years old for Garoppolo, that McVay, if he was to come back, it wouldn't be at Stafford's level. I'm not suggesting that, but it would be at a level that is game manager, a level up from that. And you might see some of the best play you've ever seen from Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Josh McDaniels could have gotten that out of him if he had more time, but you had Brady there and they had to move him along. So that made sense. So no one should be sleeping on Matt Stafford. And I'm man enough to admit it. I have gained so much respect for that guy. So much respect for that guy to go out someplace else and get it. And not just get it, not just get the Super Bowl. I mean, they had a down year mixed in there, but to ramp it and rev it back up to then go play at your peak level. That is incredible. And they have had injuries. And I'm not even just talking about this year. I'm talking about over the course of this time. Last year, they were pretty decimated by injury. And they have some this year. And Nakua was down. And now I didn't get the news, but I see Devontae Adams came up lame yesterday. And Higbee's been down at different times. So props, all of it, all of the props in the world to Matthew Stafford. What he's doing is going to go down in history. It really is. All right, speaking of history, I just got to touch on this. And Jason Whitlock ain't going to like me too much. We did 5 games, and we disagreed on 3. And all 3 that we disagreed on, I won, he lost. I went 3-2. And if I'm not mistaken, he went 0-5. Jason, if you're watching, sorry. I'm sure we'll talk about that later this week. I hope we do. And one of those games that we disagreed on was last night, the Chargers versus the Steelers. I had the Chargers. He had the Steelers. I am not a Mike Tomlin guy anymore. That ship sailed long ago. It's the same old, folks. And if you thought that you were going to go get this roster made up of all of these older guys, and believe me, I know Darius Slay very well from his time in Detroit. Arguably one of the most overrated corners in history. Dude would get a ball thrown over the wide receiver's head by like 10 yards, and he'd start going like this, waving his finger. Just fraudulent. And Jalen Ramsey. And Rodgers, I understand what you're trying to do. I'm not even going to be hard on Rodgers, although he played a horrible game last night. He was not himself. And you're fooling around, nimbling around, tiptoeing around down on your goal line, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and you think you're going to get away from that. I'm not sure what he was thinking. He got in it, thought he could get away, and then you throw the ball. It's still a safety anyway, because it would have been grounding. But the fact that he put himself in that situation is really, really interesting. And I don't think Mike Tomlin's too happy with him. But Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers isn't the reason that you're going to go ahead and finish with about 9 wins again. It is your system, buddy. It is your culture, which Mike Tomlin's not a bad guy. All right. Mike Tomlin is good for the game. I'm not suggesting that he's bad for the game. But if you think that Mike Tomlin is a Super Bowl contending coach, I got news for you. He's not. He's just not. Those days are long gone. The modern game has long passed them by. And I'm going to say this. I've been mumbling in the background about this. I've said it a couple times in posts, but I'm going to say it on camera right now. DK Metcalf is not a number 1 wide receiver And he never has been, and he never will be. He has ability. He can make plays, yes. You get the ball out, and in fairness to DK, Rodgers missed the throw on a couple of passes to Metcalf. Those weren't Metcalf's fault. Let me be clear. But DK Metcalf is a hit and miss kind of guy. He's here one moment, he's not another. He's not a difference maker. You want to watch a difference maker? This is why they let him go. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a difference maker. My man can run every route. He can uncover himself in any coverage. DK Metcalf can't do that. DK Metcalf can run by a couple of guys, but he can't do much else than that. He's not crafty, shifty, stick routes, and he's going to take some guy and put his foot in the ground, come the other way, and the receiver's going to just fall down. It's not going to happen. It's not who he is. It's not ever who he was. Tyler Lockett and Jigba, they were only there for a short period of time together, but those guys could get open basically in any circumstance, and Tyler Lockett's a very small guy. I'm not saying Tyler Lockett now is better than Metcalf. I'm not saying that. But you got rid of George Pickens, and I understand the attitude part, and you brought in Metcalf, and you basically have nobody else. Austin, Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, who follows Arthur Smith everywhere he goes. Arthur Smith's offensive coordinator. Another dude who's in the Stone Ages, absolute Stone Ages, should not be a head coach. Anyone talking about him being a head coach, run for the hills. This is what Mike Tomlin surrounds himself with. If nothing changes, nothing changes. If the expectation doesn't change, then the expectation of oneself doesn't change. It's just more status quo. It's just more of the same and none of the new. And it's stale. It's worn out. Love the Rooneys for their loyalty to Chuck Knox and Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin. Hey, that's nice in theory. That's nice and all, but it's not going to win you a championship. The fans of Pittsburgh deserve better. There's this talk about they potentially want, or it was 2 weeks ago. It might have changed. We're going to bring back Aaron Rodgers for next year too. Why? Turn the freaking corner. Why? Because you got TJ Watt and you put the money into him? Because Hayward, you put the money into him? It's not enough. It's fundamentally broken. You don't have the parts and pieces to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. You don't. You have names. Metcalf is a name. Aaron Rodgers is a name. TJ Watt, he's more than a name, but that's a name. Hayward's a name. Jalen Ramsey, that's a name. Darius Slay, that's a name. And that's where it ends. Production over a 17-game season? When you get out-physicaled or you get your physicality matched like it was last night against a team, by the way, that doesn't have one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL playing right now in Joe Alt. It was a slugfest and, rock fight there for a while. And then you can just see them separate themselves. And what's the common denominator to separate yourself? Obviously, they were getting a pass rush on Rodgers. Rodgers can't move. And you're going to struggle there. Is Justin Herbert. Prior to last night's game, the Los Angeles Chargers, sorry, still want to call them San Diego, are a higher percentage. They're not, I don't believe, but are a higher percentage Super Bowl contender by 10 solid points over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a mirage. It's fancy. It's got some nice decoration, nice shine on the car, but you open up the hood and the parts look really old and the engine looks really, really old. And the coach, like the old carburetor, if you don't have a carburetor, the car can't go. This is a stupid analogy. I'll make fun of myself here, but that is Mike Tomlin. That's Mike Tomlin, folks. He can be upset at Aaron Rodgers all he wants. When they asked him, what did you think of his performance? And he was like, next. And what do you think? He said. I mean, I don't know what the guy could say. Again, I don't like in-game, before a game, a pre-game, in-game, halftime, post-game. I don't think there should be any interviews. Once a week, press conference availability, coaches available, and up to whatever, 4 or 5 people available to the media. And that's it, except for before the season and after the season. It's stupid. Totally stupid. What you expect the man to say 15 minutes after getting his ass kicked and going 5-4, and the Ravens now are coming up on you. Come on, man. It just makes no freaking sense. So the Steelers got serious problems. I didn't need to see that last night to know that they had serious problems. Jason won't like me for this, but the Colts have some serious problems too. They were very lucky to win that game last night. Jonathan Taylor went off again. I said it on the show the other day. The quality teams, which they have not played many, the quality teams will stack the box. They will stop Jonathan Taylor. They will force Daniel Jones to try to beat them. And I don't like my odds. I don't like my odds and putting the ball. And he did a nice job running and getting out of there, making some plays with his legs, granted. And the Falcons have had one of the better pass rushes this year, granted. Not a very good rush defense, pretty solid pass defense, pressure on the quarterback. They couldn't stop Taylor. And they couldn't stop Jones when he got out and scrambled. But I would not feel good. Some of it is a little bit fraudulent, quite frankly. And Steve Kim, who also appears on the Fearless podcast with Jason Whitlock, said he expects them basically at 12 or 13 wins. I don't see that. They have some tougher competition coming up now, and I don't see that. I don't see 13 wins. For sure, I don't see 13. And 12 seems rather unlikely. Daniel Jones is a nice game. He's probably above a game manager. Is he a Super Bowl quarterback? I don't know. Was Trent Dilfer a Super Bowl quarterback? No. But what did Trent Dilfer have around him? And what kind of defense? Arguably the greatest defense ever, along with the 85 Bears. That's what Trent Dilfer had with him. That's the type of defense he had. I mean, all you had to do was basically go out and not throw an interception or turn the ball over in some other way, fumble, whatever. You can't say that about Indianapolis. They're running around right now. They're running everything through Jonathan Taylor. You take that away, I would really question their ability, and I would question their ability defensively. So, like never before, and now look at the Buffalo Bills lose to the Miami Dolphins. You almost can't make sense out of this. Not almost. You can't make sense out of this. It's so hard to predict things from one week to the next, like in terms of like who's going to win what game and by what amount of points. And we think this team's going to do that, and we think this team's going to do this. You know, Seattle got way up yesterday, and then a number of things happened, and it's like, does Arizona have a shot here? Nah, they probably don't, but, you know, things can change quickly. An injury here, an injury there, momentum changes, level of performance changes based on situation sometimes, back against the wall, which is what the Ravens are doing. Every game's like a playoff game now. And then teams get on a run, and you run into them at the wrong time, and it can, you know, disconnect basically your whole season. So I'd expect more changes to come, but it's just crazy the overreaction that we see now in this I want everything now society we live in. It's like Dylan Gabriel can't have any time to be a quarterback. J.J. McCarthy can't have any time at all. It's like 11, 12 quarters. Dylan Gabriel's like, and I know he looked bad yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and say the dude didn't look bad. There's some plays that just didn't make sense to me. It's like he's made that throw like 2,000, 3,000 times, and it's like he's throwing it over his head by 10 yards. And it, man, I wouldn't want to be in Cleveland. I wouldn't want to be a player. Definitely wouldn't want to be a quarterback in Cleveland. And I wouldn't want to be Shedeur Sanders. I wouldn't want to be Dylan Gabriel. I wouldn't want to be Bailey Zappi or Joe Flacco before or Kenny Pickett before, because you are under such a magnifying glass, and then you go draft a 3rd and a 5th round pick. And I'm saying this for Shedeur, and everybody knows how I feel about that. It isn't even fair to him. What if he comes in and he doesn't do well? He deserves more than a game or 3 or 5 games. And I there's a part of me that appreciates what Stefanski's doing and saying, hey, Dylan's going to stay our guy. Because if you pull the string now, he's ruined. And I'm going to tell you this, and a lot of people probably won't, and I'm going to end it here in a minute. A lot of people probably won't agree with this. I'm telling you guys, if Dylan Gabriel was on a structure, like a team that wasn't in a city and an organization that wasn't in total dysfunction, you would be seeing the guy perform levels higher than this. He is a way better quarterback than what you're seeing. He played against the greatest in the world, and he essentially dominated. Literally could make every throw. 1 ball, 2 ball, 3 ball, was nimble, could get around, way advanced in reading and reacting, all of it. He has all the tools. And playing against teams like Ohio State, Michigan's defense, and all of that last year, guys, he didn't forget how to play quarterback. In your job, whatever it is you do, if you go in this cesspool of toxicity every single day, and he should be fired, and he should be fired, and this person saying that, you become it. It becomes you. How do you go out and perform? It's very, like Garrett had 5 sacks a week ago, very difficult to perform on any level in that situation. Guy throws a perfect touchdown pass, 35 yards or whatever it was to Judy, and it floated up there, but it needed to float up there. It needed to be a 3-ball layered in there so that Judy could run under it. And some guys on X like, hey, I'll take the 6, but that ball was up there for a while. It's the only ball that gets caught for a touchdown, dude. Like, he can't win for anything. And I would basically say the same thing. There's enough people like me that dislike Shedeur Sanders, me for his game and his personality, but it would be unfair to just say, there it is. Look, I told you. Look, I told you he made 5 bad passes, or he only completed 47%. You can't judge it. You got to give a body of work. 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games is not a body of work. And you got to look at all the dysfunction that is around you. That matters, folks. I can have a superstar player on a team, and if no one else is doing their job, or there's all this infighting, how does that work? If you're fighting with your spouse every day, how do you go to work then? Like, if you're anything like me in my lifetime, if that happened, I would struggle at work. If things aren't going good at home, you're off at work. If things aren't going, really good at work, you're kind of off at home. How do you think it is in the same locker room with your coworker? We've all experienced it. This is not a monologue about sticking up for Dylan Gabriel, who in serious parts of that game yesterday did not play very well. I'm not here to defend that. I'm here to question that, actually. Like, that's not the Dylan Gabriel that I know. Some simple things that he's missing. But I think it's all the other stuff that just is coming through, and it's like you're in fear of making that mistake and getting blown up. And he's a really, really level, non-emotional guy that way. But it's got to be a lot to take. Every single step, every finger movement, everything is under the most intense scrutiny. Not easy to perform. I mean, you're getting paid to do that job, and we're all, doing what we're doing to comment on said performance, but it's almost an impossible situation. And think about it. You invested a 3 in him. I mean, at some point you would pull the plug, but what is it, 5? Is it 5 games? Is it 6 games? Something like that? You gonna pull the plug now? You're basically done. Probably never can go back to him. Very few guys can you do that to and go back to him, especially when you're a dysfunctional franchise. There is absolutely nothing about that franchise that's going right. You've drafted some quality players. You've done some good things. Mason Graham, Judkins. You've got some things there. Schweisinger. You have some things there to build on. But who's the builder? You ever see a home that's built by a bad builder, and then you see a home that's built right, or a car that's built wrong and a car that's built right? Well, that's the Cleveland Browns. You can make it shiny all you want. Who's running it? Who's the mechanic? Who's the orchestrator? Who's the leader? And then you look at this over here, and man, this thing's running like a champ. This thing could go 300,000 miles. And I know if I have a problem, I got the people to fix it up. You don't have the people to fix it up in Cleveland. Start paying attention to what matters. Stop putting it on each of the players and start looking at the system and start looking at the environment and the culture. Good players can't succeed in the worst cultures, at least not in a very positive, consistent, long-term way. It's very rare. That's life. That's not just football. That's not just the Cleveland Browns. That is life. To the T. Clean it out. Clean it out. You have to fire Stefanski. You have to fire Barry. There is no coming back from this. It doesn't matter if they go win 3 in a row. It doesn't change it. It's the ugly sweater in the closet that unless you throw it out, it's always going to be there. They cannot recover from this, and it's a two-head. You can't get rid of one of the two because they're connected together. You have to get rid of both. You cannot get rid of Haslam, but you can get rid of the GM and the coach. Go get the right, fire them today. Today. And begin your search for the proper general manager that Jimmy Haslam will give total full control to run it how they see fit. And I'm not confident that guy could go hire the right guy, if I'm being honest. Hire a search firm then of people of football minds that can collectively go make the right decision. And there are consultants out there that can do that. Former insane GMs that will be happy to weigh in on how to rebuild and who to look for and how to rebuild the Cleveland Browns. Get rid of Andrew Berry. Get rid of Kevin Stefanski today. Let the new guy come in. Let him assess. Get the proper coach in. And then they can fool with the quarterback debacle that's going on there. Crazy. And I lived it, guys. I lived it in Detroit. Maybe we did a lot of dumb shit, but I don't think we ever drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round and the 5th round. That's impossible to work out, especially when the 5th round guy is insanely polarizing. You just like, if you want to like have your car be with no gas in it and expect to go turn it on and expect it to run, it wouldn't work, right? Whoever thought that was a good idea? I have no idea. You pick one of the two. I don't care who you pick. You don't pick two. Two cuts out the best of the two. How do you succeed? What message are you sending? Doesn't add up, folks. Doesn't add up. All right, again, I apologize for the tech difficulties today. Hopefully I could get my mixer back and it's a snowy screen on it. Hopefully the whole thing's not blown. It's got it disconnected. Let it reboot, reset, whatever. And I'll be back later in this week. Hopefully I'll be on the Jason Whitlock show this week, which is dark today and tomorrow. Maybe see you back then. If not, you'll certainly see me here. Maybe I'll have Luke back this week. I'm hoping. Longest PTO and ever by my co-host. And I got to get his thoughts. For those of you that don't know, Luke was a superstar high school quarterback. All-state, state champion, played against Aiden Hutchinson, Sauce Gardner, Dante Moore, all those guys. I still haven't gotten his thoughts yet on Sauce Gardner. And boy, he got undressed yesterday. By the way, before I go, one final thought on Sauce Gardner. One of the most overhyped, overpaid players ever. And I thought that before I saw what I saw yesterday. Honestly, this name and this built-up brand, and the media gets behind it, and we got to get Sauce, and oh, he's a shutdown corner. Give me a break. He's not a lockdown, shutdown corner as one of the greats. He definitely isn't worth $30 million or whatever they're giving him. He's not. And can it help Indianapolis? Yes. Is he going to shut down half of the field like Dion did when he played? Nope. And there's others? No, it's not going to happen. So, Indy, I wouldn't get my hopes up too much about Sauce Gardner. It's more sauce than it is substance. How you like that one? Everybody have a great day. Enjoy your Monday. Hopefully it goes better than what my Monday morning has. Everybody be well, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.